Kia ora everybody, as the year begins to wrap up, I like to take this time to catch up on a few sets that released over the past year that I've missed, now that sales will be coming in very hot for the holiday season. This here is set 76290, the Avengers vs the Leviathan, which released in August of this year for the price of 50 USD or 90 NZD according to the LEGO Shop at Home website. 347 pieces in total with this thing and 5 minifigures, 4 of which are your standard type and 1 big figure of the Hulk, the only exclusive figure here, and barely if we're being honest with ourselves. I grabbed this on a sale because I also got at the same time the Quinjet, which released I want to say sometime last year, and combining these two sets together makes perfect sense for a display purpose. I'm also just now only realizing that they put every Avenger in these two sets together except for Hawkeye. Why did we get a repeat on Black Widow and Captain America but no space for a Hawkeye? The set overview here on this one is a giant space whale as seen in the Avengers, and evidently throughout the rest of the series as well. This thing does make an appearance in some of those other films like Age of Ultron and Endgame. This isn't depicting a specific scene or anything, rather just giving you some necessary things for your Avengers display. And I say necessary because actually this isn't the first time that we've seen the Leviathan creature in LEGO. Brickset here lists 3 sets in total that have covered the Leviathan, but dare I say those representations are rather embarrassing for that design. The one that released before this one was from the Avengers Tower, which has all sorts of weird scaling issues with the size of the building and all, but it's fine, the Leviathan there is included as an extra piece, it's not the main focus. Also not too bad from what I see here. It actually looks like a pretty decent bones and foundation of what would eventually become this one. The biggest issue here of course is that scale. However, the Hulk helicopter set from Endgame was a huge misstep of a set idea in my eyes. The Leviathan wasn't the main focus of the set, it was a helicopter that never appeared in the movie, so that's my first issue. I can see the main visual idea here for what they were going for, but it just looks like a baby. Currently though, the one thing that these two sets have going for them versus this new one that we're about to look at is the color inclusion of purple for that alien aesthetic and that nostalgic look of the 2012 sets. Does this current set live up to those expectations where the previous sets disappointed me in? In short, meh, it's a decent first proper attempt though, even if it's not really the first attempt. We're still just not quite there yet, I feel, for the definitive build for this thing. So in short, I think I am going to need LEGO to try again on this one. I really do like the shaping that we have here for this thing. I think the colors are decent enough because the real life model is rather dull looking, so the golds here do make it a bit more appealing, but I just can't get past the size of this thing. The scale in the movies, these whales are giant, as they should be. They are these behemoth challenges for the Avengers to be taking on, but this doesn't feel nearly as intimidating as it should. Build wise, this is where the small size does help with the repetitiveness. I didn't find this to be nearly as frustrating as some people find repetitive builds, possibly something that would have been a bit harder to get through had the build been a lot bigger. I've been showing these off now, but the build does sit atop these clear display pieces, which gives it a little bit of height to make it look like it's flying. I like the general idea, but you're definitely going to need to add some of these yourself because this thing is still so close to the ground here. It doesn't really look like it's flying to me then compared to the display stand you get with the Quinjet. The spine of the Leviathan here is built out of these small teeth-like pieces and some good smooth techniques there for some style. We got some wings on the side there for some simple ball joints, some posability there for you to be messing around with. I like the difference in length here with these two, but I do find that sometimes moving them around will nudge other pieces on the body and stuff will just come flying away. I do actually like the gold bone-like structure there because it makes me feel like I'm building something unintentionally from Death Stranding, an IP that I know LEGO will never decide to adapt. Again, the posing here is pretty cool. It's a double connector type build, so it adds a bit of stability there for the turns, but you're not going to get very far with your bends. The underside here is pretty wicked actually, looking at all those gold bone pieces for the ribs here all throughout. Up top we've got some stud shooters with some purple firing elements. Feel free to take out the Avengers with this thing, but my aim is a little off. Black Widow here features something very similar as her accessory. It's the exact same pieces used for the Leviathan's weapons, but now for hers. And like the space whales, it doesn't do anything in sorts of damage, which is why, as they say in the movie, they have a Hulk. The last aspect to talk about here is the head of the beast, which is cool enough and it gets all the right details here in place. The head is rather heavy though, it is on a ball joint for movement, but look at what good that does for the set. The head also has a jaw that's been built on hinges, so it can open up and remain like so. There are no eyes that are built into the beast, rather the ridges of the bricks make for those essential shapes. The figures are the highlights for me, and even then, I tragically have a couple of complaints. I got a lot of complaints actually. Hulk Big Figure's the only exclusive figure here, primarily because of that printing. The Hulk big fig introduced in 2012 is now no more, and instead, we received a remake of that design around 2020, possibly 2021, and I believe it was Thanos who first released with the removable head. Hulk here takes that new design finally with the removable head, and it even adds a removable hairpiece. I do love the fact that the head is able to finally rotate around now, but the hairpiece being removable for me wasn't necessary. In fact, I wish it wouldn't come off because it barely holds on to the head to begin with. I'm glad that you do get some customization options out of this though. The Hulks over the years have tried harder and harder to capture that Mark Ruffalo appearance since the 2012 figure all up and skipped over it. The skin tone is a much darker green which matches how he appears in the movies, and the shorts are a different color here too, obviously. One of the things that I don't really like about the modern big figs though is the removal of the toes for these Barbie-like features of just a smooth edge. I believe they've done this because characters like Thanos wear pants. It's easier for them to just reuse those ones rather than having some toes printed on. Now if I'm right and that is the real answer, I kind of think that's a little lazy. Hulk should have toes printed on realistically. Hulk also appeared in the Avengers Tower, which was the first time that Hulk received this updated big fig treatment. It is the exact same figure as this one with his colors, but the face printing is different with a smile rather than a growl. Captain America next here, a figure that I was so excited to get my hands on because truth be told, in my opinion, LEGO have never really gotten this guy right when it comes to the movie figures. Some of those comic figures are absolutely incredible and I'm still trying to get my hands on them to this day. This figure unfortunately just does not do it for me. Somehow they managed to MCUify an MCU suit that already has the weird MCU suit details. I see what they were trying to do here with the colors, a mix of lights and darks, and I think it matches the source material just slightly. I just think they went way too dark here with these blues, and this is the one outfit I wanted to see the most shining in its brightest colored form. Cap has always been printed in really dark tones for LEGO, so I wish the chest color was a bit more defined here. You can remove that helmet piece to reveal a double-sided expression, and now we can cover some objectively bad elements here. The printing is awful. You just gotta stop printing on these darker toned heads, please. I would rather sacrifice the accuracy points if you can't get the quality assurance here for these premium like products. Cap is a big disappointment for me. It's close to being good, but I'm still left here waiting for a decent LEGO Captain America figure. And speaking of decent, Black Widow, she's decent enough. My issues here with her are simply the fact that design I just feel best resembles Age of Ultron, not Avengers 2012, and by this point it's very outdated. I'd love to start seeing a difference here. For one thing, I'm personally very tired of that face print. It feels like the dudes are always regularly having updated face prints in their sets, like Captain America here or Loki. They're always getting newer expressions or gimmicks here, and Black Widow is still to this day using the exact same 2016 Jyn Erso face. Scarlett Johansson is more than overdue now, I think personally, for a brand new face print. I think I'd also like to see a new hairstyle introduced for her because this thing's been the key design since I believe Age of Ultron. I just feel like she could use something a bit more fresh and new and different, similar to that Mad Eye Moody hairpiece or something. I'll take anything at this point, honestly. She's got the same double-sided expression that she's had for about a decade now. It's fine. This is just coming from someone who basically has 5 of these types of figures now. I'm just not thrilled here. Loki, on the other hand, is an excellent figure. I praised the new Loki in my coverage of the 2012 movie base sets. Loki here has a great face print that has only been used for him. The cape is a solid plastic piece, which was a new move introduced by LEGO in, I believe, 2024. The printing I think is pretty good as well. The robes appearing in this gunmetal grey look are a lot more interesting than the plain boring tone from the 2012 design. The worst part of this figure for me though is that lackluster piece that's used for his scepter. There are tons of amazing tutorials on the internet for you to use and just make your own custom one. I just don't really see why they're taking steps backwards with this because of, well, assumingly cost-cutting measures, I suppose. Loki does feature a double-sided face where he is wearing his face mark after he's being sent to the Sky Jail. He is similar then to the one that released in the Quinjet set, but he is missing his hairpiece from that set, and the cape has been swapped over from fabric to plastic. It's not an exclusive though, only because he was sold separately in a magazine, not available worldwide if you really want to count that stuff. The final figure here is the Chitauri soldier figure. Figures introduced back with the in-game apology releases in the 2020s. LEGO sure have gotten quite the mileage out of these guys nowadays. They seem pretty accurate enough, but the design is rather boring. It's not LEGO's fault though, they've adapted grey villains quite well here. I think I just miss that style of the golds and purples from the 2012 type figures, in which they opted for more of a cosmic aesthetic rather than the accuracy points here, but I still appreciate having a bunch bunch of these freaks for my display. It also makes sense to release one here with this type of enemy build too, given it is their whale after all. The box here shows the Battle of 2012 in the streets, barely. We get the gang here fighting the beast, and the figure roster is located down below. The back here shows us the space whale crashing on the ground, and the Avengers manage to take down Loki. The only play features here appear to be moving of the chest and the flick fire missiles. The instructions for the set are the standard boring cover and the usual details on the inside. The back here shows the model all fully displayed and complete. We then have our inventory list, and there are no advertisements for the other Avengers base sets. And like I mentioned at the start, I bought this thing to go alongside my Quinjet since I assumed that these would match in scale, and I could not be more wrong on this one. If anything, these sets should have swapped their scales around, because this is just insane and way off base for me. Hulk for scale can stand on this thing super easily, just like so. As for the Leviathan, it's the same beast that he and Thor fight a bunch of dudes on. This is just a little too hard for me to ignore, I'm sorry. Overall, I'm feeling a little let down here. I feel like the design is fine enough, but I really wanted to see this thing be massive in its scale. Really, I think that this and that Age of Ultron display set that released along the same time, they should have swapped their prices around. It's the Leviathan that should have been the 160 NZD set for this release, not the $90 one, and maybe that's the play here, because we did have to wait a good couple of years until we got a really great Quinjet set. It's possible that they're gonna wait maybe 3 years or so to do another one, and that's how they're gonna get me. I also would have been a lot more forgiving if the figures all held up, but I'm only satisfied with Loki, who's not even really an exclusive figure, and maybe Hulk depending on how I'm feeling on the day. I found this custom set here that CM4Psy made years ago on this exact concept of a set idea. LEGO,
hire this man!
Just look how good this thing is in its concept stage alone. The colors are there with the golds and the purples for that cosmic style that I love. The size is massive and it's in line with exactly what I was imagining. Also, they've redesigned Thor and Iron Man here just so that they could feel new and unique. As of writing the script, once I found this mock-up here, I just couldn't look at the official one the same anymore, unfortunately. But those are just my thoughts after all, and if you disagree with me, you should let me know in the comments down below. Liking this video and subscribing here to this channel does help to support more future videos like this one. Ka kite taonga, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.